A lot of people worry about seed oils. I don't worry quite so much about those. So I tend to do most of my cooking with avocado oil. The majority of my calories do come probably from avocado oil, more so now. It used to be mostly olive oil in the past. Dairy products. I used to be afraid of cheeses and fats, for about 20 years during the low-fat era. And then I became insulin resistant, had to look at what I was doing. So I've decreased the carbs, as we said. I'm not even afraid of bacon. A lot of people just say, oh, well, bacon's terrible for you. Now, here's another distinction in that space, though. People talk about the, quote, keto diet, and they think it's eating all bacon all day, every day. And that's not it. I travel a lot, and I go out to eat a lot. Whether at home or going out to eat, if I eat a lot of red meats, especially steak type of meats, I get fat, even whether low carb or no low carb. And in fact, I've got my own food addictions as well. One of them has to do with sweets. The other one has to do with amounts, portion control. And the typical U.S. food habits are these giant portions of red meat. I've always traveled a lot with my work, except for the past, up until this year, I had a couple of years where I didn't travel. The rest of that 40 years, I was traveling a lot. And if I ate an entree when I was out, I would gain way too much weight, too much portions, even if it was low carb. So I've almost always had a very simple formula, a salad with a piece of meat. And usually it's not meat, it's usually a piece of fish. So salad, piece of fish. I got some habits, that's what they are. Now, in terms of food prep at home, I tend to do like a weekly food prep, and I'll do that as well. About half my meals are salad and a piece of fish, or just a salad. The other half of the meals, maybe 2/3, are a version of this thing. One of the low glycemic carb foods, like broccoli or Brussels sprouts or cauliflower. And I'll saute those with olive oil and some, powdered Parmesan cheese. And that is what I eat. Up until the past few years, it was always salad and a piece of fish. Now it's salad and a piece of fish, or that broccoli or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts sauteed in avocado oil and with a little bit of powdered Parmesan. So it's the sauteed veg with powdered Parmesan and olive oil. And I'm being a little bit repetitive here because my diet is very repetitive. It's an interesting thing. I'll make one other comment about that. One of the first big life-changing events that people have to wrap their head around when they start getting into more of a healthy lifestyle is they have to start doing the calorie count. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times. No, doc, I don't count carbs, but I avoid high carb stuff. And I always say, you know what? You got to go through the pain. You got to go through 2 weeks of actually counting carbs. You got to do it. It's like that old Listerine commercial, the taste you hate. Once a day. You don't have to do this once a day. You got to go through it once in your lifetime. 2 to 3 weeks of actually counting your glycemic carbs, because then you know what you're eating. The next thing you begin to understand, usually people start getting headachy. They start getting the keto flu then because they are actually becoming aware of the glycemic carbs that they're eating, and they're actually pulling them out, whether they're thinking about it or not. So then their weight actually tends to drop those first 2 weeks. The point about habit, though, is once you've done that for 2 weeks, you really understand the basics of your habits. I'm not the only person with food habits. The vast majority of us do not eat a different breakfast every day. We do not eat a different lunch. We do not eat a different number of meals. We tend to have our habits. And after about 2 weeks, you start to get a really good handle on where your issues are. And it becomes easy then. You start developing your habit. You start learning where the low-hanging fruit is. Maybe we should pardon that pun. You start learning where your most easily reversible source of carbs is.